Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Fabio Di Bello, and I'm Customer Training Manager at Wiley, and I will be taking you through this 1-hour session. We are still waiting for many people to join in. I'm very impressed with the large number of attendees that have registered for the session today. We really hope this session is going to be useful for all of you. So in the meantime, let's just do some housekeeping items. I'd just like to talk to you about how the GoToWebinar platform works. So you all are muted and your camera are switched off. But I really invite you to raise your questions in case you have any doubts, in case you need further clarifications. You can actually find the question tab in your control panel. So if you click on questions, you'll be able to actually open up a box and write your question. I have a colleague of mine who is working with me today, and it's Graham, and I and Graham will be monitoring the questions, and we'll allocate 10 minutes of Q&A at the end of the presentation so that we go through the questions and try to address the most relevant ones. You can also send an email to my email address in case you need to be in contact with me for specific questions that might not have been answered during the session. Now, feel free to take notes, but we have decided to make this deck available for download. So if you go to your control panel, you should be finding a tab called Handouts. If you click on Handouts, you'll be able to find the slides, a PDF version of the slides that I will be using. And you're very welcome to download and share it with your colleagues. Last thing I want to say is that this session is being recorded, and you all will receive an email within 24 hours, an email containing the link to the recorded session as well as a certificate of attendance. Once again, if in one day you don't receive the email, check your spam folder or write me an email, and I'll be more than happy to provide you with the email containing the link and the certificate of attendance. Well, so I think the number raised dramatically. So thank you once again for joining, welcoming all of you that are connecting right now. And I'd like to just show you the agenda for today. So it's going to be a very intense session. I hope I'm not going to be overloading you with content and information. But it's going to be an interesting part, which is going to be performed online. So I'll connect on Wiley Online Library platform, and I'll be showing you the contents, the features, specifically, how to browse the content, how to search the content that is relevant for your searches, for your research. I'll be showing you how to set up alerts for maximizing current awareness. And then after we have finished with Wiley Online Library platform, I'm going to be sharing some interesting, useful insight on how to maximize success when publishing a manuscript. So I'm going to be giving you the best tips for writing and submitting an article to a peer review journal. And also, once your article gets published, how to maximize impact for the article, in terms of visibility, in terms of citations and altmetric attention. So that's the plan for today. Once again, for those of you who just joined us, I I remind you to use the questions section to write your questions, and I will just remind you that, of course, I'm going to be running some demos, but if you need me to search for any specific topic, once again, feel free to propose it and write it in the question section. But before we actually move forward, I'd like to know something more about you. So what I would like to do right now is to launch this poll. And I would really be grateful if you could answer this question. So how often do you access Wiley Online Library? I just need to figure out your level of expertise. So that's the main purpose of this poll. And well, you're voting in great numbers. Thank you so much for answering this question. And I'm giving you some more time to vote. Great. Well, thank you so much for voting. Let me share the results with you. So these are how you answered. 43% of you have never accessed Wiley Online Library. So that's great news because that's why we are here for. And the remaining, I can see that there are some expert users and some users that use it just semi regularly. Now, let me just now run the second poll and the last one. And I'd like to ask you if you've ever published a manuscript on a journal. So once again, I'd like to know the level of expertise with the publishing process. It would be interesting to know how many people have already published so that I understand your level of familiarity with the entire publication process, from writing an article to submitting an article and publishing it. All right, so once again, thank you so much for voting. And I think I can now close the poll and share the results. So 19% of you have never published. An interesting 30% of you are planning to publish an article, and 11% have already published with Wiley, and 41% of you have already published with another publisher. So that's an interesting breakdown. Like 50% of you have experience with publishing, and 49 and 50% have no experience in publishing. That's great. Thank you so much for answering. And let's now get to the heart of the session. Just a very brief introduction of who we are. Perhaps not all of you know that Wiley was founded by Charles Wiley in 1807. So we've got over 200 years of experience. We're one of the largest publishers in the world, with millions of researchers and professionals using our database, our contents every day. And we pride ourselves also with the fact that over 450 authors who published with Wiley were awarded with Nobel Prize. Nearly half of our peer-reviewed journals are edited in collaboration with scientific societies, with the leading international scientific societies. And another thing that I'd like to show you is what type of content you can access on the Wiley Online Library. So that's a screenshot that shows you the broad range of topics, the variety of topics, starting from journals, where you can actually access nearly 1,600 peer-reviewed journals, The majority of them are subscription journals, but we offer 1,300 hybrid journals and over 460 open access journals where actually readers can access the full text of the journals without having to pay a subscription. So hybrid journals are journals where the journal allow publications in open access as well as subscription only. We offer the entire back file with over 2.8 million articles. We've been digitalizing the entire archive, so we have nearly 3 centuries of literature available. We have the online books, we have the reference works, and the current protocols, and finally the EBM databases for medicine, so evidence-based medicine databases. So all of this content is accessible and searchable in the Wiley Online Library. The subject coverage is pretty much, I would say, all disciplines. We break down the disciplinary collection into 126 subcategories. I will show you online how to browse content across the subcategories. And what I would like to do right now is actually connect physically to the platform. And I will now change my screen. And I will now go online. So I hope you can see. Let me just, okay. So sorry, Graham, can you see my screen, the Wiley Online Library platform?
Yes, no problem at all.
Thank you so much. So one thing that is important when accessing Wiley Online Library, by the way, you are coming from several different institutions, so please check with your library manager the best way to access the library. I understand that many institutions have their preferred route from the library portal. Make sure you follow the guidelines in terms of authentication. So the URL is onlinelibrary.wiley.com. That's a general URL address where anyone can actually access the Wiley Online Library platform. One thing that I would suggest you to do straight away, for those of you who haven't done it yet, is to click on Login Register. So you have an opportunity by clicking on registering to create your personal profile on Wiley Online Library. And this would allow you to do a lot of things like serving searches, saving alerts. So I am now logged in with my username and password. As you can see, my name here, Fabio, appears in the screen. So this means that I'm logged in with my personal profile. And as a matter of fact, if you click on Fabio, you can see my account, and you'll be able to see your account, your panel. Now let me just log in, and this control panel will show you all your alerts, and I will show you how to create alerts, both content alerts and citation alerts, as well as all the saved searches on the platform. So you can see these are the saved searches that I created for me, and I can run them, and I delete them or update them when I need so, and my favorites. So additionally, you can also access the full content of the subscribed materials remotely from home without not even being in VPN connection. That's one of the advantage of registering to the Wiley Online Library, but you must do it when you are in the campus, when you are in your institution IP address the first time. Right, let's go back to the platform. So if you scroll down, you'll see here the subjects. As I mentioned to you earlier, you can browse the content by simply clicking on the topics that you are interested in. And if you click on the topics, for instance, medicine, you click on the arrow, you can expand medicine into the subtopics. So you can choose the subtopics you're interested in, like, for instance, oncology and radiotherapy. And you can see that all the most recent articles are retrieved following, the subject that you have chosen. And so they're all available. You can see there are different icons. The first one is full access. It means that it's a subscription journals article that is, of course, accessible in full access because your institution has a subscription to the journal. Alternatively, as I mentioned to you earlier, if you see this padlock icon, open access, it means that this article is being published in a gold open access journal. Those are journals where articles are freely accessible online. You don't need a subscription to access the full text, but authors are required to pay an article publication charge, for publishing the article. Now, you can also retrieve the most cited articles in this area. And let me just show you how an article looks like. So what kind of data and graphical representation you can have. If you click on the title here, you can see the metadata of the article, the title, the authors, the DOI, the abstract, of course, the sections. So you can actually get straight into the abstract or the results if you need so. And then you'll be able to see here 3 icons, the PDF, then tools. If you click on tools, you'll be able to request permission to use the material contained in the article. You can export citation, for instance, and copy and paste how to cite the article if you're writing an article. You can add it to favorite, or you can track citation. Track citation means that you are actually creating an alert. Here it is. You see that's a citation alert panel, my citation alert. So you're creating an alert anytime this specific journal article gets cited by any other article, you'll be notified by email. Okay, that's the meaning of the basically of the citation alerts. Another thing you can do is share the full text and of course increase the visibility and the impact by using the social media. So you can basically use Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, LinkedIn, and so on. Now on the right hand side, you'll be able to see a panel with different tabs. The first one here is related. So this tab shows you all the highly related, highly pertinent articles that are linked to this one. So these are really useful articles that are highly connected. And then the references section, you'll see all the references that are listed in the journal. Every reference has also got hyperlinks to external databases that contains metadata regarding this article. So if the article is being indexed in PubMed or in Google Scholar or in Web of Science, you'll be able to find a hyperlink that will get you straight onto the full text page of the record in the external database, provided that your subscription, that your institution has a subscription. There are some databases that are free of charge, like PubMed or Google Scholar, and there are, of course, databases that require a subscription, like Web of Science or CAS, like in this case. So depending on whether your institution has a subscription or not, you may well be able to access the full text. You'll be recognized, your IP addresses will be recognized, and you'll be able to access directly the record in Web of Science or Scopus or all the other full fee databases. Well, if you click on the figures, you'll see that every figure can be imported directly in PowerPoint. And when you do so, you'll basically create a slide with the citation already created for you. So you don't need to actually do any kind of work. You just click on the PowerPoint icon, and the PowerPoint slide will be prepared and formatted for you. The last one of these tabs is Information I. That's very useful because here we have embedded the Altmetrics software. Now, if you mouse over on this button here, AM score, you see, you'll be able to see and visualize how many times this article has been mentioned on the social media, on the blogs, on a variety of sources. So if you click on it, and you'll be able to open up the Altmetric software score, you know, the it's opening up right now. And right, don't know why it's not okay. So you can see this functionality allows you to visualize all the mentions in Twitter with the breakdown, geographical and demographic breakdown, the manually readers, and then the attention scoring context, that is an algorithm that takes into account the measure of the quality and quantity of online attention that the article has received. So I will show you later on some techniques, some leverages that you can use once you publish your article in order to increase the level of attention that your article receives on the social media. You see here that you'll be able to monitor also other sources like policy documents, for instance, or patents, okay, or videos. Or, you know, you can see here, if you click on more, you'll be able to see a lot of sources that are being tracked and monitored systematically to make sure that you know exactly whenever someone is using or mentioning the content that is being published in an article of your interest, whether you're an author or whether the article is simply very important for your research. All right, so let's go back to the screen before, you know, to the journal article. We've seen the functionalities that are available when you are accessing a specific journal article within a specific journal. So you see here, that's the icon of the journal where the article has been published. If you click on the journal, you'll be able to open up the actual journal. And so you'll be able to see here the volume 68, issue 6, where, you know, the article is being published. And then you'll be able to see here some other tabs that are really, really important and will give you very important information whenever you decide to write an article and submit an article to a specific journal. Before you do that, I highly recommend you to click on About and visualize the Overview section. And that's important because in the Overview section, you'll be able to read the aims and the scope of the journal. That's very important because when you write an article and you submit an article to a journal, you must make sure that the aims and the scope of the article matches the aims and the scope of the journal. So you don't want to run risk that your article gets rejected because of a mismatch in aims and scope. Another thing that I would highly recommend you to do is click on Contribute tab. And you see, if you click on Contribute, you'll be able to see some very useful functionalities like author guidelines and submit a manuscript, for instance. So if you click on author guidelines, you'll open up basically all the specifications and the requirements in terms of submissions. So how the article must be submitted? What are basically the requirements in terms of how to prepare the cover letter, how to edit, how the journal article must be edited, graphical images, everything that is being specified in this section must be followed properly. Once again, if you do not respect the author guidelines, you run a risk of your article to be rejected, okay, even if it is a high quality journal. So that's why I highly, strongly advise you to get help when you decide to write an article. Before submitting it, you can use other services, professional services like Wiley Author Services and Wiley Editing Services that I will show you later on. And those services just support you as an author go through the complicated process of writing a high quality article and get it accepted from the editorial board. And finally, you can see here there's a browse function that will allow you to browse not only the current issue, but also all issues of the journal, including the back file. As you can see, for this specific journal, you can actually access volume 1, issue 1. Now, I anticipated that you can create alerts. So if you need to create an alert for this specific journal, so get content alert is the bell, the bell items that will enable you to create a new alert for this journal. So every time a new article will be published in the journal, you'll be notified by email. And of course, you'll be landed into your account. And this, of course, is the content alerts section where you'll be able to actually control all of your alerts, edit them, run them, update them, and so on. Right. If you click on search here, you'll be able to see that you can search by using a search term, and you can see you can search in the specific journal, or you can search in the Wiley Online Library platform. So if you need to search for a specific keyword or set of keywords, you can basically use this basic search function. You'll see here that every time you write a search term, all content will be searched. And what I mean with that, I mean journals, online books, reference works. So you'll be able to visualize all type of content, and you have tabs to just filter the content, the type of contents you want to access. So here, for instance, you can filter for articles and chapters or reference works. And you can also use the filters on the left-hand side panel. So you see here, you will see publication types, and you can see publication date. You can select and create a time frame, specific time frame of articles you're interested in. You can select the open access content status, so you can visualize all articles that are freely accessible and that do not require a subscription. And then you can use the subjects filter. So you can break down and narrow down results using the predetermined subjects fields that are automatically pulled out here for each search results screen. Now, this stage here, you can refine the search using the refined search button. You can actually save the search by clicking on Save Search button. And when you do that, you'll be landed again into your saved search panel. So you're still here in your account, and you are basically in the saved searches menu. Now, last thing I want to show you is how to search using basic search mode and advanced search module. You see here that when you key in more words like artificial intelligence, you see here an automatic search suggestion, which is trying to help you create the best search. Like, are you searching for a book? Are you searching for a specific author? Are you searching for a term in general, in all metadata? So you can use the brackets if you want to reduce the noise, and using brackets will just search artificial intelligence in proximity, you know, just the two words close to each other. And that's a general rule. Whenever you want to search for just two words that must be close to one another, you have to use the bracket. If you don't use the bracket, you'll see that the number of results will go up because the algorithm will search for artificial intelligence in any part of the article. All right, so one example on the advanced search, you'll be able here to combine more terms together using Boolean operators. You'll see here the search tips, and you can find the instructions on how to use Boolean operators and or not. So you can basically search for like artificial intelligence and combine it with machine learning using a Boolean operator, in this case not, so it will exclude studies that contains machine learning. You can combine it like with other keywords. You can also decide where you want to search the keywords, like in the title, the author, the keywords. And you also have author affiliation and funding agency. So for instance, you want to know, you can basically use China and use China as author affiliation. You're now searching for artificial intelligence, not machine learning, medicine, and you want all articles that have been published by affiliations that are in China. And so when you have now finished the compiling the search, you can click on search and you'll be able to retrieve the results. And again, use the filters here on the left-hand side to further narrow down search results and basically access the number of results that is manageable by you. You can see here one thing, the last thing I want to show you is that by default, search results are sorted by relevance, but you can change. So in case you want to run a search for, you know, getting just the latest updates, you can click on date, and you'll be able to basically just change the sorting and then retrieve just the most current, the most recent articles. All right. Graham, just want to make sure that everything is going smoothly. Is there any specific problem so far? Any specific question? Anything that you may want to add so far before we actually move to the second section, the second part?
Just one quick one, Fabio. A question's just come in just to confirm that Boolean operators can be used within the Wiley search, and yes, they can. I don't know if you want to just give a very quick example, perhaps using and to show how that works.
Absolutely. So in order to use Boolean operators, first of all, you can use Boolean operators both in the basic search, like cron and mesalamine. So you're searching cron and mesalamine. So both terms must be available, must be present in the article metadata. Or you can use Boolean operators going to advanced search and combining more search terms, like in this case, cron, or in this case, or must be in capital letter, regional enteritis. So you can combine more search terms like synonyms, for instance, and you can choose to search, in a specific field, like in the title or in the keywords, or leave it anywhere. It means that basically the search terms are searched everywhere. And you can basically also use, as I did before, mesalamine. And you can basically, once again, select where you want to search mesalamine. So when you're doing so, you are searching Crohn or regional enteritis and mesalamine with Boolean operator and. Every time you actually combine more terms together in here, the Boolean operator is and. So once you do that, you click on search, and here again you will see the syntax of your search is Crohn or regional enteritis anywhere and mesalamine in abstract. So that's the way you can actually use Boolean operators both in the same field, in the same search field, like in this case, like in the previous example. So in this case, you are searching these words in the same field, or you can combine keywords being searched in different metadata. And when you do that, you're just combining it with and. Okay, but within the same search field, you can use both and or and not. But just remember to use it in capital letter. I hope it makes sense. Any other question so far?
So a follow-up question about the search results, Fabio. Just to be clear about what we're looking at. So the question is, will a search on Wiley Online Library show articles only published in Wiley journals, or will it show articles published in any journal?
Right. Well, that's a very good question. Obviously, that's our platform that just hosts our journals. The journals that are edited by Wiley. And therefore, the answer is, just the Wiley edited content you'll be able to find in the Wiley Online Library. All right. I can see many hands raised. Don't know if you wanna basically try and answer the remaining questions in the Q&A session. Graham, what do you think?
Yes, I think so.
All right. Now, I'd like to just go back to the slides, and I'd like to just share. All right. Some useful tips for writing, publishing an article. So you said, the polls have shown that 50% of you have never published an article before. So I understand that for those of you who have no experience in writing articles and publishing articles, I understand that the process might be scary or complicated. So I want to just share the best tips from our experts. So when you're about to start writing an article, some rule that is basically useful is start thinking before you start writing and keep thinking when you have finished writing. So what are the questions you may want to address before you actually even start? So what type of article, for instance, are you writing? What audience would find your article type most useful? So are you writing an original article? Are you writing a case report, a review, a short communication? That is very important. For instance, in the open access world, there are some transformational agreements that only cover the cost for APC for specific article types. Then what is the target of people you want to reach? Are you trying to reach academics? Are you trying to reach policymakers? Which journal? That's very important. How do you choose your journal? I showed you before that when you are in a journal, you can see the most important information regarding the aims and the scope. So you want to make sure that aims and scopes are matched. And then define the successful criteria. So what will make your publication successful for you? So will it be impact? Will it be citations? So all general, be self-aware. So that's the general structure of a research article. Now, once again, it is very important to read and follow the author submission guidelines, because if you don't do so, if you don't respect the specifications that are embedded in the submission guidelines, you may risk your article being rejected. So I'm not sure I can go through all of the tips that I have gathered in this document. I remind all of you that the PDF version of the slides are available for download in the handout section in your control panel. But anyway, starting from the title, titles are extremely vital, important, as they capture the attention of the editorial board. They must be typically short. Pay attention to the keywords. They must be upfront and possibly optimized. And please use the current terminology. With regard to abstract, use the 20 seconds rule. Just try to explain your work to a scientist who is out of your field, who is not an expert in your field, and put something very important and new at the beginning, and don't make the middle part longer than necessary, and possibly placing the insight in the context of future prospects. With regard to introduction, state the background to the study and review the existing literature briefly, derive a rationale and mention the hypothesis. I would also suggest you to keep the introduction to a maximum 800, 1000 words, no more than that. And also, the data or conclusions from the study should not be presented in the introduction section, so try to avoid to do that. Now, with regard to the methods, the aim is to give the reader all the necessary details to replicate the study. So imagine, a randomized controlled trial in medicine. This is so important to describe the experiments in a logical sequence. So don't forget to mention, the data collection, the study design, the treatment regimen, so all the details that you have used to create the study. And the results, must also be showed in a very clear, digestible format. Do not duplicate data among display items and text. Avoid graphical representation where the results can be easily explained in text. And you can see, all the other bulleted points, advices that we have gathered from our experts, so that you can basically have a very concise document to be used, a practical document to be used as a sort of checklist when you actually start writing your article. So once again, the discussion, some advices on how to articulate a discussion in your article, some of the advices that are really useful, like use logical arguments to convert the data stated in the results section into mechanicistic interpretations, and some other advices that will allow you to avoid mistakes. References, again, avoid excessive references and make sure they are up to date. The majority of mistakes occur in the references section in the articles. Some other tips: pay attention to the grammar, to the language, syntax. The article must be clear, concise, and accurate, and avoid plagiarism or self-plagiarism or redundancy in writings. Remember to make the most out of the cover letter, as you would do if you were looking for a job and sending your CV. And then not a very important thing, in Pakistan, of course, you don't really have a lot of problems with English, but when English is not your primary language, I suggest you to use professional services, because language editing and the formatting is very important. Language must be perfect in order for an article to be accepted. So use a translation service. Consider use Wiley editing services. That, by the way, is our professional services platform for fee that will support you throughout the entire process. I will come back to Wiley editing services in a few minutes. Now, some other tips on publishing. So when you submit your paper, during submission, you know that there is a rigorous peer review process in place. So be very careful and be aware of how the peer review process is being structured. So that's basically just a workflow. And you can see that there are stages where your work can be sent back for revision. And once again, if that happens, be prepared to face criticism and create a point-by-point document where you basically show all the changes that you have done, all the changes that you have not done, and why. What makes the IC happy? Again, 4 bullet points that will be useful for you just as a checklist. the references, the accompanying letter, the figures must be easily understandable, have symbols and labels of sufficient size and sufficient resolution to be read, and so on. Once again, I don't have the time right now to go through every single detail of all the advices that we have put together in this document. The whole idea here is to provide you with this actionable document that will help you be successful when writing and when submitting an article. So what reviewers look for. So remember, hypothesis. What question does your paper answer? Innovation. What is unique in your article? Then evidence. Are the conclusions supported by sufficient data? And then writing. So are the results clear and understandable? Don't forget about the context. Are the results set in the context of other known research? And ethics. Does the paper adhere to the guidelines? That's one example of a referee report. You can see here, are there any ethical concerns? Just a very few words about what is unethical. So fraud, duplicate submission, duplicate publication, plagiarism, self-plagiarism, and be aware that penalties can be severe. And how the unethical behavior is being detected? Well, the peer review process aims at basically detecting unethical behavior. Members of your community all read papers on similar topics. And then we also use special plagiarism detection software, like for instance, Authenticate and other platforms that really are capable and are very effective in pinpointing any type of plagiarism that is available, is present. Some other information and useful tips on the editorial decision. So how the editorial board decides about the acceptance of your submission, and some tips to survive peer review, like, accept the feedback as a learning experience. And please remember that very few submissions are accepted unconditionally. So you have to accept and expect criticism and be prepared to revise, even major revise your original article, the article that you start submitting. I know my time is nearly coming to an end, and I want to use as much time as possible for questions and answers. The last thing I want to share with you is what Wiley has to offer in terms of support. First of all, there are 9 promotional tools that you can use once your article gets published. And these are the 9 promotional tools, and you can find all the information and support that you need if you connect to wileyauthors.com/maximize, or you can send an email to authormarketing@wiley.com. These are very useful tools that help you maximize visibility, citations, alt metrics, impact in general once the article gets published. And then that's very important. We have Wiley Author Services platform, which is free of charge and support authors throughout the entire process, starting from finding the right journal for your article. We have a software called Find Me, a journal finder that allows you to upload the title and the abstract of your manuscript, and will allow you to retrieve the best journals that match the aims and the scope of your article. And then you also find other very useful information like open access, licensing information, publishing guides, and promotional toolkits for authors. I mentioned to you earlier that we have one for-fee service that is Wiley Editing Services. This is the landing page, and this is the URL where you can find all the services that are available, wileyeditingservices.com. You see here a variety of services that are available, from article preparation, so language editing, language formatting, figure formatting, and so on. And then also promotional services, like, for instance, video creation, conference poster creation, and so on. And the statistics show that authors who use article promotion services have a definitely far bigger impact than authors who don't use it. And finally, I will all invite you to visit our Customer Success Hub for training guides, videos. That's the URL address, and you can register for all the upcoming and on-demand webinars that we schedule on various topics, from publishing to open access and Wiley online library platforms. Well, I think my time is up, and now it's over to you for questions, comments, clarifications. So, Graham.
Fabio, yes, Fabio. So we have a question that's just come in just specifically about the Wiley editing service. So I wonder if you could just very quickly talk a little bit more. The question is basically how long does that take? How many days does it take to use that service, get a response?
All right. Well, on Wiley Editing Services, every service, it's very easy to get an online quote. So when you are here, you see here services and pricing. You can click on pricing, and you will see that for each service there is a timeline, like a delivery time. Depending on how urgent you need the service, the price changes. So if you need language editing and formatting in 3 days, price is probably going to be higher than if you are prepared to wait for 1 week or 2 weeks. So pricing is automatically calculated online. If you go online, if you click on pricing, you'll be able to pinpoint the service that you need, and you can see the pricing level depending on the amount of words contained into your document and the time, the delivery time that you are requesting. And once that the price is being calculated, you can place the order online and pay using your credit card, or mainly the credit card. Thank you so much for this question. I hope this was useful.
Yes, thank you, Fabio. So one other question that has been asked by quite a number of people attending today is about actual access to Wiley Online Library. So we had a number of people on the call who haven't accessed Wiley Online Library before, or aren't that familiar with the platform. So hopefully what Fabio has shown you has really helped raise awareness of the platform. But in terms of access, there's a lot of questions around how do I access the platform? Is it free? Do I need a subscription? So I just want to be clear there that essentially your library will be providing access if they have taken out a subscription. So you individually don't have to have subscriptions to Wiley Online Library. Your institutional library will centrally have arranged access for online library for you, and provided you are within the IP range of your university, then you will be able to access content That doesn't mean you have to be on campus necessarily. It is possible to have remote access to Wiley Online Library as long as your institution has shared a full range of the relevant IP addresses. So you could be at home, you could be office-based, you could be in a research institution that's separate from the main campus of the institution, and you could still have access to Wiley content through Online Library. And in addition, you will also find there is content available on the platform that is not behind a paywall, that is not subscription content. So open access content is freely available for you to read and access through Wiley Online Library. So you will be able to find journal articles that are outside of the subscription that you'll be able to access freely.
Thank you, Graham. Any other question or comment or?
Only to say thank you very much, Fabio. There's lots of really very generous feedback from all of you, saying that you're finding this extremely helpful, and it's been really very useful. So thank you very much.
Well, I hope it's been useful, and as you know, as I said, you know, you can find all the information in the slides, all the URL, all the links to the platforms that I showed you, author services, Wiley services, in case you need help. And as Graham was mentioning before, you don't need a subscription to Wiley Online Library. You can access by clicking on onlinelibrary.com, but obviously to access the subscribed content, you need to be authenticated from your institution. And so you can carry out searches and retrieve the results, but if you want to access the full text, the subscribed content, you need to be authenticated, as Graham was mentioning before. I wish all of you, of course, success with your work, with your whoever of you is in the process of publishing. I wish all the best, and I hope you know this session was useful. Let me know how we can improve the sessions in the forthcoming sessions. If you have any feedback to provide, that's really useful for us. So feel free to send us an email or fill in the customer feedback form that you might find in the email that will be sent to you in one day. Great. So once again, it's been a pleasure for me to be with you. I will now close the session. Thank you, Graham, for your valuable support and for answering the questions, and for waking up so early this morning. And so I will say goodbye to all of you. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.